it's
I don't even
just
think that takes
total.
into, I think she ran county payroll. That's
Oh,
good
it's
payroll.
right, doesn't he?
I kind of thought if you want to hear it on the criminal attorney's thing, later on we can talk. But I don't see where you got it, where you can
Yeah,
do it all. They expect it all.
I know.
Every public, they expect it all.
Oh, yeah.
Clay was giving it to Daniels.
Was giving it to what?
Brian Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wants to raise, he's got somebody who's going to retire in March of next year, wants to raise the salary, which I
Yeah.
think they can retire past 3 years. But if you look at that sheet I gave you on company funding, which
Yeah.
had money, that you fund, it's the state that's shortchanging it. It's not the
Right.
locality, it's the state.
Right. Yeah.
But I will always appreciate someone coming to bat for their,
Sure.
I respect that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm online, they probably heard that, but anyway. So, because this. Daddy say don't say anything you wouldn't want to
So, yeah, can you turn it down? They can turn it down up here.
Now we got, he does a lot of the heavy lifting.
I could not remember, so thank you.
Alan. Still working out.
We made it through the first round and then they
Oh, good.
parameters before we actually filed. We would have had to take half of the total area, the value amount.
Peter, sit here. I sit here because I need a chair back. Any more fires down in Etland, Carney?
No, as long as we keep you out of the area, we're all right.
Well, I had you know hooked up, on Monday.
What's that? You had one unit?
Uh-huh, on Monday. Another one. That makes 3 this month. Say that again? Excavators from fires. Yeah.
So that's gone.
Complete loss or?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it took the fire department 35 minutes to get the unit.
Well, and they don't have a cell tower down there.
I'm working with,
Well, I got a call out.
to try to,
I got a call out. I got a call out.
There ain't no
I just was able to get a hold of Will, and Will called. Yeah, but I was able to call Will though. Yeah. Will called. That's what that was.
Burning up excavators left and right.
It happens, yep. Try to avoid that at all costs, but that is part of it.
I was just telling him I did my 3rd one on Monday.
You need to get on like a bobcat or something.
Well, this one was a case. Yeah. I sit up here where I got some room. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. I hate to sit up here, but I got room. I don't hate to sit up here, because oh, we got some seats. We got some, these aren't the same seats. Are they?
Can you, you might want to open up Madison County's website as a browser.
Tonight?
I've got
He's
some
not on
things
the
on
committee.
there. if I could go
Very
to.
much.
And he did call me today, though.
Oh, you don't?
But, no,
Why didn't I email you that?
I just like
You
seeing
should
the
be able
picture,
to get
got
on.
room to sit, room to spread out.
Well,
Madison County.
Hey, Cardi. Anybody have a password to the wireless here? Is it one?
Hey, Steve. How are you?
Is it real complicated?
Doing good.
Well, I forgot that I'm gonna be coming in late tomorrow, so I think we're good just to go with what we got. I mean, really don't. It's the same thing as it was. They're gonna have a
So
meeting
if
for
I ask
something
you
else,
again, am I
but,
bugging you about my mother's clock?
yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Can I drop it off? The thing's probably 100 years old. I mean, yeah, really, it probably is.
What's the Wi-Fi password?
I don't know. Can I get a number from somebody else? I don't even know anybody.
You're getting there, yeah.
I hope I'm not. Oh, I'm going down to Richmond to pick up another machine.
What are we looking
I
for?
have to.
What are we looking for?
I said, you told me last night you were buying pizza for everybody.
I'm fine.
Well, you guys gotta order it. And that's the main one? HT?
Main or guest?
Main. Is that an E? EP.
Okay, so what is it,
HT.
Yeah. It's not that though. Uppercase T and lowercase c.
I don't know if they'll follow it. I sold them $13,000 contract. It's pennies on the dollars, I mean, but they're worth, and they'll actually put a bid on it.
Okay.
That's it.
Do they don't sell the parts, right? They just. Oh, they do? Okay.
What's that? HT?
All over.
All lowercase, including the T on the end there?
T, T, okay.
Well, they'll bid, they got people bidding on it, but that comes out of the money that I get.
E.
I'm sorry.
Not
E.
true. Okay, so.
TEP.
Yeah, no, they're gonna take the machine, they're all total losses. So they're gonna give me my number, and they're taking the machine. Or they'll give me my.
Alrighty. Welcome to our third meeting of the Comp Plan Committee. Appreciate everyone coming. If you look at the agenda, I thought the last meeting we did a pretty good progress at working on a vision statement. What's that?
Keep going.
Okay, someone's behind me, working on a vision statement, and so I thought tonight, and you can see from the emails that I sent to everyone, we'll try to, and we gathered a few other revisions that were sent to us by a few folks, and those are great. So we'll work on that, and I think we can just probably do that as a group, and are we going to be able to come to some decision where maybe we all can find some agreement? I think we're, at least from the couple of things that were sent to me, I think we're all sort of in the same ballpark. So hopefully that will be something that we can, as a group, just talk through here and come up with a vision statement that we have some consensus on. And then what we'll do after that is we'll break, like we did last time, into those two groups. We have that sort of workbook that I sent yesterday. And before we break into that, I have a few comments that, with the housing, which is going to be one of the kind of the main plan elements as we're calling them. So I have a few comments I'll make before we break maybe into the two groups, and Jennifer take one side and we'll brainstorm like we did before. So having said all that, I will pass it over to Jennifer, and then we'll get going here. So she has a little PowerPoint, go over some things and where we are, and we'll start it here.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So this slide's going to start looking familiar with every meeting. So this time we're going to touch on the goals and objectives, but before we get, or the vision goals and objectives, before we get started, I just wanted to give you a quick update on where we are in the process phase. So we have the bulk of the data collection, analysis, and the trends and the existing conditions for the most part are complete, unless there's any specific requests as we continue to move through this process. So today we're going to start focusing on the vision, short-term, long-term goals, and start looking at the objectives and eventually work our way into the strategies as we move through each one of the planning elements. And so that is where we're at in the process. And I think Lig and I just covered this. Today's agenda items, we're going to continue talking about and formulating a final vision statement. We're going to begin looking at the housing plan element today, and before the end of tonight's session, talk about the next committee meeting and the tasks that we need to be completing in the meantime. So on to the vision statement. We put out we pulled together the feedback that we got from you last time, and this is a summary of the high points or the common themes that came across to us based on the feedback and the comments that you gave us. Number one, preserve and protect all the natural assets. The beauty of the rural region, the beauty and the ruralness of the county, which means protecting and preserving the water and air quality, protecting the rural nature and the farmland, all the characteristics that you would normally associate with that, and protect vital view sheds. Modest economic and commercial growth. Some of the comments and feedback we got included low impact type businesses, businesses that align, supplement, support the agricultural economy, agritourism and or tourism in general, some kind of a standard or for attractive commercial development. So that's one of those that kind of stood out as we all want to see a great community as it moves forward through time. And suitable site for an industrial or technology park. So when we get into the economic section, it'd be great to dive into those a little bit further. Another comment that we got was let's focus on modest population growth, and associated with that, residents have a place where they can live and work, and I added in and possibly play as a thought, an idea to think about. Affordable housing options, and whether or not you want to attract younger people, families, and retirees in a way that maintains modest population growth, but also helps to grow the economy of the county. Amenities and assets included improve and or enhance utilities and broadband access, exploring ways to support the county schools and education, and even considering looking at job trades pipeline. The last two, but not least, enhance commercial development, as well as preserving and enhancing county parks and access to Shenandoah National Park, or finding a way to make connections that improve the economy. The challenge with all of these that we're looking at tonight is to refine these values in a way that reflects the highest priorities and are responsive to the needs of county residents. So here is, based on that feedback, here is our rough draft of a vision statement. These are broken down by sentences. And this is where it would be a good time to start thinking out loud what stands out to you, what you like, how we could refine this, and what reflects the county and the values in a more concise manner.
Ligon, did you get the suggested editing that I sent you?
I did. I think Mr. Rice and yourself sent some edits. But I think it's probably would be easier to go through and just tell us what those edits are. And, you know, we could go one by one, and, I mean, again, just sort of, from what I read, you know, that was sent to me, the edits, you know, I think, like I said, I think we're all in the same sort of space, but it might be some fine tuning. So, Steve, if you want to start out, you know, you're happy to, you give us an idea, and we can edit this on the fly. Is there, we get in this right here?
Basically, my intent was to, and I think I remember that you said this early in the process, that our goal is to have a concise and relatively general set of statements for the vision statement. And so what I've done is to try and edit it down, make it a little more concise, and instead of listing so many specifics, kind of generalize some of the things. So I was suggesting, and I'm following pretty much the format that you have already. Madison County residents value and seek to preserve the natural assets of the county while recognizing the need for well-planned commercial and residential development. Madison residents also recognize and seek to enhance the civic, social, and cultural assets of the county. Madison seeks to enhance the local economy by encouraging agritourism and entrepreneurship to capitalize on the county's proximity to Shenandoah National Park and its location on a significant transportation corridor. And then the last sentence is the same one, we use plain elements of corresponding goals, and so. And my intent there again was to generalize, and instead of looking at lots of specific things, put them in general categories. I think I have the same three major goals.
Yeah, I that sounds familiar. I mean, it sort of follows the same. I sort of like the
My intention was to follow.
cultural institutions. What was that statement again? I think that was a pretty, kind of that middle one there.
Also recognize and seek to enhance the civic, social, and cultural assets of the county.
I sort of like that.
I like that too. I'm just trying to figure out where to put it.
Well, that's,
Hey, Steve, can you talk into the mic? I think we got.
I think it's on, but.
Yeah, be sure. Yeah, if you can talk into.
Broadband access, parks, recreation, library facilities, community assets, quality schools, emergency services. These are all social, cultural, or civic assets, which is what I was generalizing them into.
She's going to actually edit. I mean, how does, just as a group, I mean, go into that, that second bullet point there. If we put some of that language that maybe replace that, and how does that strike people? I mean, I think it's communicating the same.
I think it's more concise.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's.
And a lot of the specifics that are in here, I think need to be here, but they need to be when we start looking at the goals and objectives.
Let's repeat that one more time.
Yeah.
Recognizes, Steve, you mind, so Jennifer can type this down.
County rec.
There we go.
Okay. Perfect. Let's see if I get this right.
we seen this somewhere before? Cause is this the first time we've seen this?
No, Leland, had a attachment on,
Right, it starts right there.
I don't know.
In the last email?
I've got to get your email address then. Did you get all the emails?
I got it. I didn't get this one.
No, we don't have that.
The one that it said, the planning and housing, I got that.
Okay.
He's got it in that 3-pager thing. It's, we
I
don't,
sent that out
we don't have
on
that.
There were 3 attachments, I think. Yeah, that's.
Friday. Sent that on Friday.
How long is your mailing list? 'Cause I haven't gotten a thing from you.
Yeah, can you email me?
I came to your office and gave you my email address.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes.
I mean, everything is online, that I've put out, but we'll get that tonight. I'm sorry.
Appreciate it.
No, Mike, the name of that file was memo-vision statement. It's PDF and it's the last page.
Okay.
What's on the screen
It's
is
actually cool.
simply that paragraph broken down by
Yes,
sentence.
you're editing it right there on the screen, so that's perfect.
I'm taking all the rest of that sentence out.
Leland, while she's working on that, you said, Mr. Rice had some input on this too?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Steve's doing. I kind of like actually expanding a little bit about the natural assets to actually specify what those are, which are, I have revalue in which to preserve the county's scenic beauty, rural character, farms and forests, and friendly atmosphere. I understand what you're trying to do is reduce the word count.
Right.
But at the same time, some of this, I think, is worth having in there. Other than that, I pretty much kept most of the language that you have up there. And like you, Steve, I put in the Shenandoah.
Oh, we want to change the whole thing to it. I mean, with just that one sentence.
Yeah, I think,
Kinda like
Peter had
Betty.
sent me a
Oh, you
copy.
underlined that, so I was
Yeah.
going to.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Which is where I plagiarized that from.
Okay. So, do you want to, that sentence, the natural resources, is the consensus that, as Peter said, to kind of beef that up a little bit? Do you want to?
Well, only because they're common to all of the values that we discussed before. And I think it's the language that was in the 2018
Right.
plan, which is neither here nor there. But so it's really just the county's scenic beauty, rural character, farms and forests, and friendly atmosphere. Whether that's worth it or not, I don't know.
Where would that go in the first
Yeah,
bullet?
it would really just replace natural assets. Just would enumerate.
Oh, I got you.
Would enumerate what those are.
All right, so go up there, we're going to go up and edit.
All right, so value the, I'm not sure if I heard that all right. but-
Value read that real slowly.
You wanna look at it?
Yeah.
Anything to help.
Blair,
Scenic beauty,
Gerald
rural
Farm still Blair?
character, okay,
are you Gerald Farm 2 still?
I'm gonna.
Just sent it to you.
You guys are testing my typing skills tonight.
No pressure. We need you 50 words a minute.
In your third bullet, just the way this is written, it seems that it's, our encouragement or our
Yes.
focus is getting very narrow.
Yeah.
I think that there's something in here, we need to foster or encourage
Let's see.
local employment
Double check, make sure I
opportunities as
got
part
it.
of our comprehensive plan.
What if you put a comma after agritourism?
it needs a comma there for sure, because you can read it so it's extremely narrow.
Correct.
But we need something about encouraging employment opportunities in the county, because it's hard for our young people to stay here and make enough money to support a family. They have to go somewhere else, and always have.
Yes, so just having a comma there, does that, entrepreneurship, does that sum it up, Anthony, for you?
So he's on the third.
Or you wanna expand on it a
I
little?
would like to expand somewhere on creating local employment opportunities,
All right.
So that's where
but
we're
it
at.
definitely needs a comma.
And friendly atmosphere of the county, okay. Yeah,
Oh, the county's supposed to go up there?
yeah.
Do we have entrepreneurial, like, training programs in the county? Like, is there any organizations that teach
Okay.
you how to be an entrepreneur? Wouldn't that be, if we were going that way, wouldn't that be something we
All
might
right.
want to have?
So I have
The
this
Chamber
in
of
here.
Commerce does some of that.
Why are you starting that over there? Why don't you just bring it up in there?
Did you want to keep that going
Oh.
as a run-on
I think so.
sentence?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's what I
What's
heard.
that? Small
All right.
business.
We'll
SD.
see. We might go a different idea.
All right, so we're on the third bullet point. I'm sorry, we got the edit done here. On the third bullet point, Madison County seeks to enhance the local economy by encouraging agritourism, comma, entrepreneurship, I guess comma after entrepreneurship, and capitalize on its location and significant transportation corridor. Is that kind of,
Capitalize, it's not capitalized, it's just
Capitalize on the sickness.
and capitalize, right, okay, take out the S there.
Related, consistent with the comment that was just made, you could put a second clause in after entrepreneurship, which would read something like, expand employment opportunities, for local residents, and capitalize on, Madison County's, location, on a significant, transportation corridor.
And perhaps put Shenandoah National Park in there too, for tourism and other things.
Faye just made a good point. We can't say that we're gonna expand. We can encourage, but we can't expand.
Okay,
Encourage, yeah.
good point.
Encourage expanded,
The expansion of.
encourage expansion.
Encourage something.
Okay, encourage expansion of. But would local residents, would you say residents, I don't know, would local residents kind of be like a,
Redundant?
I mean, redundant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just residents?
First paragraph's pretty redundant too, need to work on that.
Yeah.
So, I'm brainstorming out loud, if you bear with me here, but is there a way to end it after, on that first sentence, end it after county, and then take the and seek to preserve and everything that follows that and put it into,
Another,
a goal or a value statement later on? Expand on that further, does that make sense? Are you following what I'm thinking?
I understand.
So after county, so okay,
Yeah,
so
I
let me
mean-
just separate it out for a sec here.
you know, I think rural heritage is part of your rural character. We value the
Right.
rural character. That's part of the character is the heritage. So maybe that and seek to preserve, we just take all that out? Does
Yeah,
that sound
and
seem
then
like
Put that under a goal.
I mean, I think we've
Something
said that already in the first, what, Peter had recommended. I think we've already kind of said that. You got to infer a little bit, but not a lot. So we go ahead and strike that second bullet point that starts with "and." Was that?
Unless you wanna keep the planned commercial and residential development in there. 'Cause that's the only place that.
Yeah, I kind of do like the, recognizing the need for modest and well-planned
Okay.
commercial.
So let me move that up there.
Take out the while. I mean, start at while maybe.
Jennifer, we have, we refer to Madison County residents, Madison County residents, and then Madison seeks.
Well, they're not gonna want to
maybe we could just say, Madison residents in all of those
That-
instances, rather than using different verbiage.
Yeah,
Okay.
consistency there, that's what I was saying. Whatever consistency.
If we value the rural character, then do we have, if the goal is to preserve its rural character, do we have to talk about that we value it if we're preserving it as a national?
So, if I'm following your
Like
thought,
Madison County residents seek to preserve its rural character and agricultural heritage that makes Madison unique. And.
is that closer to what you were thinking there on that first sentence?
Yeah, I really like the agricultural heritage. Well, it's more than agricultural heritage, there's a lot of heritage.
It's viticulture and everything else.
Okay,
I thought
Well,
Steve's
agriculture.
comments removed modest and just put
Yeah.
for well-planned commercial and residential development.
Yeah.
I like the language for modest and well-planned, because for the most part, we all say that we like the way most things are and the general feeling of our community. If you go for, any other modifier, let's say maybe that misses the mark.
so is there a consensus to keep the modest in there?
I don't agree, but I'm just wondering.
You're so modest.
Yeah, I don't think we need to say yet well-planned, it's just well-planned.
Yeah,
Modest and
okay, yeah,
well-planned
right,
work
right.
Fine together.
Okay. Now, I'm still thinking about the agricultural heritage. What is it about that wording that appeals or doesn't appeal, encompasses what you're thinking, or just doesn't quite hit the mark?
You could move agricultural heritage up to the first.
So, okay. So if I move it up, where shall I put it?
But,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I,
Right.
What exactly is agricultural heritage?
Yeah, and
Can you define it?
we already say cultural assets of the county, that's.
I think you probably, that second bullet point now could just, maybe just be, I think we've already
Take it
said it.
out.
You
underneath.
strike the whole thing there.
All right, it's gone. There you go.
Bye-bye.
That's the easy part of editing.
Jennifer, do you want to take out, county in the first paragraph?
I think we
We'll
need
make it
county
all-
on every one of them.
You've got
Madison County.
county a couple of times, and then the third paragraph.
Madison should have Madison County. I like Madison County.
We could probably start, maybe just start to throw it out with residents. Would have to do Madison County, or
Or
just,
you want to keep county in.
I do.
or do you want to start to throw it with Madison County, or we could start it with just with
I know
residents?
how things are misinterpreted.
Yeah. Just make,
I mean, we are Madison County, the whole county.
Okay, so make the
Not
third one
Madison
start
Town,
with
not
Madison County as
Madison
well?
somewhere else.
make the third one,
By either leaving county in
or,
or taking
yeah.
county out.
We leave it in.
Yeah, go with, maybe that third one, put Madison County, third one, third bullet point, Madison
Okay.
County.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, just that part.
I think the county could come out in the first bullet point too, because in friendly atmosphere, friendly atmosphere comes from the people, that's just more words.
Right, you wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know you're talking about.
Friendly atmosphere while recognizing.
Yes,
Friendly atmosphere of the county. We're talking about the county, so we can just take out of the
right,
county.
I think so, yeah.
Makes sense.
We're doing good.
All right.
Jennifer, in the last paragraph, you have initial caps on plan elements. Do you want to have initial caps on goals and objectives as well, since that is a separate part of it?
Oh,
He's
I
your
see.
private citizen.
There we go. Is that what you're looking for?
Working together.
That help?
Mhm.
The two of them are working together, Peter Rice and Peter.
Okay,
The only thing that should be capitalized is comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Climate, yeah.
yes,
Well, there is a
you're from my
section
school.
in the plan- There will be a section in the plan entitled goals and objectives.
I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I mean,
At this point, they're general statements, they're not specific, so I would
Okay.
not capitalize.
won't
them.
capitalize, go, okay, I don't think it hurts us either way.
So is the consensus keep it capitalized or take everything out except comprehensive plan? As far as the,
Should we take a,
No,
take a vote?
okay.
Yeah.
That works for me. Anything else? Nope. Now, I keep county capitalized just because it is the.
you have to, that's our name.
Just want to be clear on that.
I'm from the
Okay,
school, when it's a
so
name, it gets
how do we,
capitalized.
Peter, how does,
Just wondering, about honest in the third, honest location on, can we put in, and would it be appropriate for near Shenandoah National Park and on a significant transportation?
yeah, I think that's, I think maybe Shenandoah National Park, to me, would come before, maybe we talk about a park, before we talk about a highway, but would capitalize on its location near the Shenandoah National Park, comma.
I think on the second bullet point, let's see, where is it? We've already fixed it. On the third one, the second, encourage, if we're encouraging agritourism, entrepreneurship.
The wording.
Expansion of employment opportunities for residents, while capitalizing on the
Proximity to.
proximity of the Shenandoah National Park and
Oh,
our
comma, wow.
our location on a significant transportation corridor. So that you kind of get it all, but you don't need that second encourage in there.
Yeah.
You're already encouraging that list of things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just put and rather
Right.
than.
Right, and-
Second encouragement.
Yeah.
And not,
While
and not two
capitalizing-
location words either, what we said.
Consistent with Peter's point, you could say, while capitalizing on its location proximate to Shenandoah National Park and on
The manager of transportation.
on a significant, and its location on a significant
You're
transportation.
getting the sticker.
And we
I'm
can even
trying
make
to
that with
follow,
one word.
okay.
You could do it in.
Yeah, we might, let's see what we got here. Let her,
Let me think, give me a second.
let her do what we think we heard, then you can tell us.
On its location, what is the word I was looking for? Approximate location?
On its proximity to.
Location proximate, not approximate.
I knew something was wrong there. Okay.
To Shenandoah National Park.
No, I can't spell proximate either.
All right. Proximity to.
X.
Yeah.
Proximity to,
XIMATE.
Okay, proximate, thank you.
To Shenandoah National Park.
This is where I cannot spell.
S-H-E.
Did I, nope, I did not spell Shenandoah right.
A-N-D-O-H.
You from Washington State or something?
No.
S-S-H-E-N-A-N.
Ligon,
Okay,
it's,
spell
A-N.
that again.
S-H.
Ligon, it's on the one I handed you.
Yeah,
Shan-
you get me to spell for you, you in bad shape. No.
Did I get it yet? No, I still don't have it.
Here it is, right here.
DOAH.
D-O-A-H, yes.
Shannon, D-O-A-H. At the end.
S-H-E-N-A-N, S-H.
H at the end.
Ah, all right, I'll get there.
Next thing you gonna tell me you can't spell
That
Macedon.
looks like right.
I can't pronounce it.
Seek to
Now,
enhance.
just to be fair, you know,
National.
I am from Washington State, and if anyone can save Caleb, you deserve a prize.
Shenandoah National Park.
I think you just need the word, add the word and after Shenandoah.
Right,
Shenandoah National Park.
proximate to Shenandoah National Park and a significant transportation.
Right, and leave out the other
Did we get it?
location. That's it.
Okay,
Golf clap.
All right, this is looking good. I'm actually impressed here. We gotta, I have
This is like
usually
old
do
times.
editing this many people. So, this
Another
is,
rehearsal tonight.
does this look like a,
Because we changed the
like a
time.
draft that we could move
Yeah.
forward now?
I told him I just couldn't handle that.
Okay, I mean, from what we started, we took a shot at it based on those comments, and I think this is,
It's pretty much the same.
yeah, it's the
It's-
same, but
it's
I
okay.
like this better.
You need to get rid of one of the and before. Just put plan elements, comma, corresponding goals and objectives in this comprehensive plan. Designed to
thank
enable
you.
Madison County to realize its vision.
Well,
Ms. Iva Smith.
that's not right, because, I'll let it go, but
I didn't think you were that old.
that's part of,
Yeah, I think that kind of comes under agritourism. That's sort of my.
No, it's gonna come
That was sort of
under-
my,
That comes under our common cultural heritage.
maybe, yeah, because we say farms and forests, and they don't want to be called farms, maybe up there in that very first one. I don't know.
Farms, vineyards,
you know, I think we can
Yeah,
probably
I
just stay
mean,
in one
they-
group for this.
they're
for
part
the
of that.
Housing. I really,
But they are specific. Yeah,
are you having second thoughts on?
yes, they do. Seven, 6, 7, something like that. We can't, they need to be separate because they're not farms. They don't call themselves, they're part of the agricultural climate, but not,
They are farms.
well, but they don't want to be called
Classified as
farms.
And they're operating under farm.
Well,
under
true,
the
but they-
farm, vineyard, or
But
farm
I'd be
winery.
in favor of specifically,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think so, but anyway.
farms, vineyards, and forest for it.
Yeah, but then first thing you know, you're gonna have some other characteristic that somebody wants to put in there too.
The breweries.
Yeah, the
Well, no,
breweries, yeah.
farms, well,
There's not as many breweries as there are wines.
Don't forget your wedding venues.
That's right, that's right.
Farms, comma,
that is just, we
Farm
don't need to
brewery.
argue over this. We go ask them.
space, need a space after farms.
Oh, yes, you were right. Okay, fixed it.
There you go.
Manny does not like
But vineyards, then you're leaving out your car, Christmas show. They don't have vineyard now.
Right,
Maybe they're
Okay.
putting back cats.
yeah. Well, we can always add wineries in on it too,
We can, do that.
along with the breweries.
Yeah, we have to figure that out.
No.
Yeah, I see two ands kind of
Well, I don't
in a
either,
row there.
really.
Is that,
You don't need a comma after goals and a last line.
Because goals and objectives go together.
oh, you were right. Okay, fixed.
So you have plan elements and corresponding goals and objectives.
Is it a good time to stop before it expands any further?
Yeah, there you go. Well, we could do a whole lot of things, yeah.
Well, that's historical in Madison.
Okay.
May I say one thing to answer a question? You mentioned about entrepreneurship or other classes for that. One of the things that comes to Madison County is the workforce group.
The only reason I was asking is if we are trying to enhance entrepreneurship, then we should have something to meet that.
Well, that will come under our ways of getting it. And one of the things we would mention would be workforce. It comes to social services, and I will be using them very shortly.
That's not entrepreneurship.
Well, but they do part of that.
I don't know that I.
They start people in their businesses. I mean, they do. Absolutely. If they want to learn something, they will. They'll put them to school. They'll- For trades, whatever, yes. Wherever.
Census.
That's not entrepreneurship.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but
Like a single mom, for example, say she has children, and so she has to consider her children, and so being an entrepreneur means that maybe she starts her own cleaning company, or starts her own.
and I have students who are doing that. I understand, and I don't know, though,
I was just saying, if that's one of the goals, then we should have something to.
Let's see how many housing units.
well, we'll
we
have to
had.
explore that, I would say. I don't know
How
what
many
that takes.
Housing units we had in
And
five.
the proper place to explore that
yes.
is in the-
I wanna
Goals
share
and objectives, yes.
Just sort of like,
I like the word,
that
but.
we haven't
you're-
really
I mean, you're right on that. It's the same thing if we're gonna preserve our farmers, what's that gonna
be a
take?
good data
Our
point
farms,
as we get to talk about housing.
same thing.
That we took the word nature out, and I love that nature was in there, even though all those things.
We got it for this, we got it for the most recent, I'm just curious what it was like a few years ago.
From Madison, right?
We could go back to natural assets, which would
make that sentence.
No, only carpentry and kind of thing.
No, we'll do all that.
We'll fix all that.
More than just carpentry? More than just carpentry?
Are they, what else do they do?
How about this? Why don't we, I think we got a good plan. Why don't we sit on this for a few minutes? We can come back to it. We know we're under a 2-hour deadline. Why don't we sit on this and look at it if we want to at the end?
He said a 2-hour.
Come back? Is that okay?
Triggered by this discussion that we just had. I will put entrepreneurship before, agritourism, because I think it's a much broader concept.
I think that's a good point,
And
yeah.
it also has greater importance to the county. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Just flip entrepreneurship and agritourism, the third bullet point. Just flip entrepreneurship, because with respect to order, yeah, I think general entrepreneurship is more important. Then we have agritourism.
Yeah, they encourage, yeah.
Agritourism is entrepreneurship.
But entrepreneurship is much
Broader.
Much broader.
By encouraging entrepreneurship, agritourism, so take encouraging and put it in front of entrepreneurship.
I knew something was wrong there. Okay, I'm going, there is not, okay, got it, I think we got it.
That second line, if you stuck natural and put natural and cultural assets, that really should be your first line, because it's the most general.
Madison County residents recognize and seek to enhance civic, social, natural, and cultural assets.
That last sentence capitalizing doesn't, it doesn't. Why don't, I think, personally, I like to see it in writing and all that, let's, and then we can send you, we need to be diligent about sending anything and let somebody else wade through it when we get to the wordsmithing and all. I think we have a good, whatever. Listen, with all these people in here and we're all type A personalities, we'll never agree much. Somebody's gonna give in.
Okay, well, let's just set it, we can set it for a little bit. I mean, we'll still call this a draft, but I think we're probably about as close as we're going to get to consensus, so, for the time being. Right. I think what we can do now is, why don't we move, I really think this group is working pretty well like it is. Why don't we just stay in one large group? I don't think there's any need to really break it down. So I'm going to go to housing and, I'll go ahead and pass. I know y'all have these. I sent it to them, but here's some hard copies if you want to look at it.
Mine's on my printer.
All right, trivia question though. Can you
Mine's
tell
on
me
my
where
printer.
this image is from?
Oh, yeah, I know what that is. Was that? Oh.
I knew you'd know. Any ideas?
What is it, Trina?
Judy.
And now it is currently in the possession of Skyline Cap.
Yes.
And we've been working with them to upgrade it a bit, make it a nice place for permanent rental units. And so we're very excited to support that, but I wanted to include that because this is a really neat project and it's a good example of what a house-scale building looks like. And I was surprised when I discovered that there were, on this side, there are 4 units
Yes.
with a total of 6. 2 more on the backside. They're accessible on the backside. Believe it or not, I honestly was surprised when I saw how small this building was. And these units are really nice.
2 3-bedroom units, and 3 2-bedroom units, and 1, what do you call it? Like you live in a studio, yeah.
Where is it?
Barbara's house.
Behind Skyline Cap, up
Cardy, do you know what, we're renting those 4 units for?
I'd say they're all 6 units, they're gonna average about $1,200 a month.
And that's affordable.
Yeah, and that's affordable. That's going through a HUD calculation of taking, the 80 percentile, median, 80% median income. I'm trying to get that amount right. And then, calculating, utilities and all that kind of stuff.
That will be included.
But it would not, it would be, the rent would be higher, if a commercial organization came in here and bought those.
Correct.
We got funding.
Right.
to enlarge.
Yeah, our deal with Triple RC and VHDA was we would only go 80%. We wouldn't go above that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Organization that's, taken control of this building,
Uh-huh.
is managed by who?
Skyline Community Action Partnership. Skyline is a CAP agency that I work for.
Okay.
Disclosure involved.
Yeah, I did.
I
You-
apologize.
No, that's all right.
I'm filling in for Donald Coward.
Yeah.
So, just, he'll be back here and knowledgeable.
Sure.
Cardi, do you have any sense of, if it were a commercial organization that were renting these, roughly what the rent might be?
Well, I think 3-bedroom, we could probably get $1,500, $1,600 a month.
What, we,
More, you think?
Yeah.
20% more than what's being charged.
Yeah,
So you're right to do 80.
yeah.
True.
yeah, I could only find 2 rentals in the county that were listed somewhere. I'll look Craig's
That's right.
list, just out of curiosity. And
There
there's,
are more. You don't know them.
yeah, most are word of mouth.
You,
That-
they
that-
are.
and that's where it is.
One, and I know.
Page County's the same way, there's no more. You know,
You
we
didn't
we
find
can,
that one.
sorry, we just kind of start with this real quick, I'll do my little preamble and,
This is yours.
yeah, same thing in Page County. You used to be able to look at the paper upon 6 or 7 any given week. One of the things that was driven home on housing was household size. I know we talked about that, and one of the bullet points was 61% of household, over 60% are 2 people or 1 person. In this room, how many people are in a 2-person or less household? So I started thinking to myself, you know, I don't know if there was any questions that people had that, God, that seems low, but, you know, I started thinking about, well, the folks on the Plan Commission, I think they, I was like, wait a minute, so, when we looked at the data, we realized that some points, you have a little bit of trepidation, but when you look at, it's really not any one point that gives you the picture, it's everything in totality, and.
If you look at your age of your householders, that tells you why there's so many two.
Right, and this is a trend, as we looked at age, as you remember, this is a trend that is very consistent in Madison and really surrounding communities. Weldon Cooper just did a big drop on population growth just this week, I think this week. It showed that Madison has a very modest growth, that less than 1%, but it's, the outlier is for a rural area. If you're not declining, you're actually thriving into a certain degree. So I think that's positive, but it's because of, in this case, I think Weldon Cooper had your natural increase, which is your birth minus deaths. Or maybe I said that wrong, but birth minus deaths was a slight decline, but it showed a 250 person increase, I guess, since the last time they did this was about a year ago, in new residents, 250, less than 1%, but still, I think it's just to note that we're not a rural community like Page and others that are actually seeing some decline. And just going through this real quick, I would just say, as I said in the email, if you did go out and look at other comp plans on housing, look, a lot of times you just get, I looked at Fauquier, I looked at, I think Orange, a few others. You get a few goals and objectives, work with nonprofits for affordable housing. Just your sort of standard things that I think any community would want to do. But I guess as a person who's I'm more of a land use planner by trade. So I'm looking at, now what I was thinking here is land use patterns. Well, what are the land use patterns? We have a good idea what the demographics are. We know that price and income, there's a mismatch. We're not the only one. I think I sent some of you the housing study that the regional district did. That's just something that's been, I think, covered, that our incomes versus our growth. I looked at the Zillow. I made a point to show everybody just, again, that anyone can go online and look and see the commercial real estate listings. The largest segment of the county, if you're looking for a house where you have the most options in the county, is $800,000 plus. Now, that is a lot of land that goes with such properties, but so it just gives you an idea. We got, you look at one of the data points on maybe the short-term rentals has taken out a fair amount of maybe what could potentially been properties that were sold or rented. You do have, I believe, and going through public records and processing building permits, there are a significant number of second property owners in this area that here weekends, seasonally. So when you take this into sort of totality, it just leaves a lot of folks, I believe, that live in the county with limited options. So again, I've just taken that you probably have read these data points. So when we're going to think about, I just think right here, where I said these sort of things to sort of think about, who are in need of housing in the county. What are some, what are the requirements? We did put the code requirements that we need to address. I did, you do have the links for different items. When it comes to these goals, we just sort of, I'd say we as in Jennifer and I just sort of looked at, as we see the problems or the issues and how can they be addressed, not just by, maybe putting a few goals out there to work with nonprofits but how can we physically, I'd say from a land planning perspective, are there things that the county can do to maybe provide more options? So there we are. Anything you want to add to that, Jennifer?
We have a building, used to be a poorhouse.
So I'll just go to the first, and again, we can just look at these. There's no right or wrong. We can just go to the very first one here.
One of the things that always concerns me when I see the government mandating social engineering, which is what these two statements are.
What's that?
The comprehensive plan shall include, and the second one says, during an amendment to the locality's comprehensive plan after July 1st, 2021, the locality shall incorporate into its comprehensive plans strategies to promote manufactured housing. All right.
Some lobbyists from Clayton.
That kind of thing is counterproductive, I think.
Yeah, well,
Now- Yes, better you than me, okay.
I was doing a little looking, and Ligon can tell me a little clearer, but the most of the land in the county is designated, I would say the bulk of it would fall under A1 and C1, wrong?
I'd say 85%.
Yeah. Those allow for the development or the use of a manufactured home as a single.
Already.
family house in all of
Absolutely.
those districts. So would we not have satisfied the requirement just to leave it? 85% of the county, if you want one, you put one there.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not unusual for some, I think Rockingham, if you want to do a manufactured home, you had to get a special use permit. So we allow it by amount of right, so I think that's a very good point. But when it comes to manufactured home, I think that Steve's point, social engineering, the policymakers, people who elect it, can either social engineer, or you can let an outside person or a developer or someone do their own social engineering. So somehow, there needs to be, I believe, it's well within the duty of the board to sort of think about these things. When it comes to manufactured housing, there are some places that don't embrace it, that, you know, and maybe that's why it's in there. Right, right, and. Right, yeah, but we, you know, I know, and there are a lot of already manufactured housing, you know, and again, manufactured housing has come a long ways. You know, we usually think, you know, 10 box, you know, with a skirt around it. There's, you know, the manufactured home can be a framed on a, you know, a wood frame drywall with a masonry foundation. I mean, so there's a lot of variety in that, so.
Well, my point, I think, other than just being generally cynical about the government, if the free, sorry, if the.
You are the
free
government.
market, if there were in the free market economic incentives to build, quote, affordable housing in the county, I think it would already be happening. And secondly, I'm not sure, I mean, nobody's defined for me what they mean by affordable housing. Do they mean rental housing that costs less than $1,000 a month? Do they mean a house that costs less than $250,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath? What do they mean?
May I take a stab at trying to
Yes,
define that
please.
for you? Okay. So the one thing I've learned about affordable housing is there's a lot of factors that go into it. Overall, I'm going to say it's a subjective term, which means what one person perceives as affordable for them is not necessarily what somebody else perceives as affordable. Now, that being said, if we take it one step further, one of the best ways to define it is, do you spend 30% of your monthly income on a house payment or a rental payment and utilities? If those payments are more than 30%, now it's unaffordable and now you're cost burdened. That's kind of the basis. So when we talk about affordable housing in the context of Madison County, using the median income as a baseline to start with, the 30%, let's see, I'm trying to remember what that, hold on, I've got it written down. Right, and so for rent, if you're including utilities and using that 30% margin, that means it cannot go too far over $1,500 a month.
For rental.
HUD does have a definition that they give of affordable housing, which lines right up with what she was talking about. So it is a standardized definition that's there. How you apply it to the community is up to you, but it's exactly what you said. Affordable housing defined as housing on which owners pay no more than 30% of gross income for housing costs including utilities.
Okay, so does that apply to ownership as well as rental, or does that?
Anything.
Okay. Mortgage payment of $1,500 or less a month.
That's probably the context in which they're using it.
So when it applies in Madison County, apparently, well, I know for a fact, one of our new teachers, well, school employees, had to go to Green. He could not afford, his salary was not close to anything he could afford, nothing to rent. He is renting because he's young and he's not married, so he didn't want to buy yet. And so he can't afford it. I understand, I don't know what our EMS people get, some of them, but I understand that they need to leave to go elsewhere for their housing because there's nothing here. And that's kind of what I like to look at is what's available in our county that our own local employees who come to our county to work, but they can't live here. So I don't know.
So in what capacity can a develop
True.
these things. You know, let's say we build houses to go and do, you know, as the market will accept them, as cost, the market participants will allow, but what action should and can the community take to influence that?
I totally agree. So I don't know how to solve the problem.
Madison County's always been anti-growth. It has forever. I mean, it just, that's the way.
You said it.
Yeah.
There's the elephant in the room.
Basically, what we have is we don't have the water and sewer infrastructure, and we don't have the proper zoning in place to accept any form of affordable housing. Anything we want, either apartments or townhouses or anything like that, all the sewer taps are bought up by a couple of folks, and we don't have any more capacity. We have no ability to promote affordable housing and no desire to have it in our area, because if you have 100 acres and you can put one trailer on it, you know, we're not welcoming manufactured housing. We are just allowing it to happen wherever it happens. Our 3-acre zoning minimum is gobbling up our whole county in 3-acre lots.
Absolutely.
And we need to have a dedicated growth area where we want to have growth, and we need to support it with the proper infrastructure if we are serious about affordable housing. Madison has priced itself out of the market. We have more expensive land than the other places around. We're nicer than the other places. We're better, in my opinion.
We are.
But we have this thing, we want to have a welcoming atmosphere, but we don't want anybody else to come. I mean, we just have to realize that.
You
There
really
was-
were.
There was a proposal within the last, 3 years?
Yep.
Affordable housing with water and septic
Yep.
in the growth area.
Yep.
And it failed based on selling issues. But the other one is the neighbors have been against every part of growth in that very obvious growth area multiple times. And I think I've seen, what is it, Pete, 3 different proposals have come
It
through
was a
here?
55 and over community.
Yeah, the
We
most recent.
changed that, so we didn't have to put up with that for the old folks.
But it was affordable housing.
Yeah.
It was, they were using HUD tax credits, I think.
Yeah.
The neighborhood, the people of Madison don't want it. That's the
If it's in-
problem.
If it's in your comprehensive plan, then pretty much you're dedicated to zoning it according to fit your comprehensive plan, no matter what the neighbors say. You know, they can come in and say, I don't like this, I don't want that, but it's in, the comprehensive plan document is the direction you're taking the
Agreed.
county. And if you create a growth area, their time to speak is when you're creating the plan, not when they're rezoning an individual parcel. But it's really hard in Madison because every one of us is connected to everybody else, and we're neighbors, we love our friends, we love our family, and when our friends and family complain, it's hard for folks to sit in those chairs and make those tough decisions.
But that isn't exactly correct on the basis that we are obligated by state law
To do
to have
something.
public hearings. And if it was just strictly bound by the comprehensive plan, there would be no obligation to do the public hearing or even listen to the public in the first place.
No, you have to listen to the public, but you don't have to follow what they say.
I think the plan is still as a recommendation guide. You could use it as justification, you know. Now, just one quick point is that, now, when it comes to growth.
No,
Yeah,
hey,
no, I'm here.
The other, I'll give you the other one though. The other one, actually up near you, Mr. Clatterbuck. I think it is. Man comes in and they're subdividing another lot. Man comes in, he's been here for less than a year, and he's telling us how he's moved here for the scenic beauty. He loves his area. He is against this other individual being able to obtain this subdivided lot. And we all kind of hit it, planning commission and the board at the same time, as we're looking at the map. Where did your lot come from? Subdivided from the original tract that they were trying to subdivide again. It's the people of Madison is what holds up housing and holds up development in a lot of ways, and it's understandable. I love it here too, but I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over again, and that's the holdup.
But it's not gonna have, I mean, it could be in the comprehensive plan, but if it's not zoned,
That was.
Even if it's not in the comprehensive plan, it's, you frog leap to somewhere else.
right.
I mean, it's still, in Virginia, a comprehensive plan is again, a guide.
Yeah,
some states, they're actually, if you were to, rezone something outside of a growth area, then you would have violated, maybe state statute or something, but that's not. But when it comes to a growth area, that is gonna come. That's not in this, but yeah, this will be in this plan, just not in the,
If your board trains your citizens that you're gonna stick to the plan, and you don't jump outside of it to do the
Right.
rezone stuff, I mean, you start to form a trend for future well-planned growth.
right.
But you sort of put the cart before the horse if you're worried about affordable housing, but you don't have jobs.
Yeah, well, so just to make sure, we will do a growth area, that is coming. If you look at this first sheet right here, and, look, goal, increase affordable housing initiatives in Madison County. I think that's an admirable sort of general goal.
I have to say that Mr. Clatterbuck said was reasonable. If you're gonna do that, you have to figure out how you're gonna do utilities, if you're gonna locate it somewhere responsibly. And if you're not gonna do utilities, then it's just talk.
That's all part of the plan. We're gonna get there.
Yeah, I think that's if you look at, under that goal,
Yeah.
I mean, the first one is you can see a strategy would make sense. I mean, it needs to be in or around town of Madison. It would preferably be on the RSA service district. We go to the second one. This is the big subject, and maybe Clay or Cardi could talk a little more to this, but upgrade, modernize, and expand capacity of RSC wastewater sewer plant located on Fishback Road. That would be a game changer. I don't think it means that we're going to become Culpeper. It just means we would be able to accommodate maybe some more affordable housing, for instance.
Yeah, just one quick thing, kind of building on what Clay mentioned about that affordable housing project that fell through. That was economic, I think. They reached a point where they realized that even with the HUD grants and stuff, if that all came through, they were not gonna be able to make money off of it. So they just quit and left.
They did,
We
they
never
just,
heard from them.
we never
Yeah,
heard. They just
the
pulled
buyer and the seller ultimately couldn't come down
Well,
to a
yeah,
price.
It was a matter
Right.
of cost.
a lot of
Right.
backroom stuff that we didn't
And-
know
and
about till later.
If
You
we
wanna say
say,
something?
okay, we're gonna expand the sewage treatment plant, or wastewater treatment, they don't like to call it sewage anymore. Yeah, and
That's what I was gonna-
there's gonna be a location over here, let's say,
This
just
is-
north of town. In an ideal place, we'll have a planned community.
Yeah, Jennifer has a couple points from the housing study,
Well-
just to kind of point out.
But
So-
if nobody's willing to build there, the county can't build it.
Right.
So another thought to help support forward movement on trying to define what kind of affordable housing is needed here in the county. Back from the housing study that was done across the region, I noted that Madison County compared to Culpeper, Fauquier, Orange, and Rappahannock, which is part of our region, Madison County had the lowest rental vacancy. And right there, that justifies the fact that there needs to be an increase in rental options. And Cardi, if I can call on you and your wisdom, how many applicants did you have for the Skyline Cap project?
We probably had 8, 10. We haven't advertised heavily because we're getting washer and dryers put in all of them, so,
Right.
but yeah, they've,
6 units,
yeah.
you had 8 applicants.
Yeah, I got the impression early on that, that
Without
number was.
advertising.
No, understood.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I got the impression early on that there was quite a significant number of applicants before you guys even opened the doors.
Yeah.
And that spoke volumes to the need. And I also noted that, to a point that Ligon has made several times, Madison County also has the highest percentage of homes that are seasonal and second homes compared to the other counties that I just named. So those are 2 points that kind of bring in those are 2 key data points that illustrate the need for some kind of housing development, especially affordable housing here in the county. So with that thought hanging out there, let's move on to the next point that Ligon was,
Okay. Again, I'm just going through right here. I think as far as the first 2 points I just went over, I kind of got a head shake that they're sound good to everyone so far. I mean, the need for, that makes sense. And again, I mean, when it comes to sewer, I think it's going to need to be some upgraded anyway. I mean, it's 50-some years
But
old.
it's
I mean.
coming. It's
Right.
coming.
We know that's something that's going to be done. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think
Say it.
What is it, STR?
Short-term rental.
Short-term
Short-term rental.
rental.
Yeah.
let me, since so much does hinge on the sewer, let me tell you. I'd say within 2 years, the study's already been done to basically double the size of the sewer plant. And add another 180 EDUs, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right.
180 sewer. We got plenty of water, we just don't have sewer EDUs, so add another 180. So I'd say 2 years.
I thought it was 400 EDUs is what
Would
it
be
is.
Total.
of
Yeah, so
400.
We already got,
That's right.
Yeah,
You are right.
I mean, when you got a plant that right now serving 190 people,
right, and they're gonna
that's,
double.
right, that's
what I said.
significant, and I think that really can help. We'll go to the third bullet point, coordinate affordable housing with Scotland Community Action, where there's opportunities to work. I think we'll do that. I don't think anyone would have any issue with that. My fourth one's where it gets interesting, and I did put a little sheet together that we can talk about, and again, this kind of goes back to the, kind of the land planning part of this. Consider cluster housing developments by special use permit on medium, large parcels, specifically smaller houses, dwellings where short-term rentals are prohibited. I know we've talked about accessory dwelling units. I have given that example up there, what a cluster development, to a large degree, the county already has these cluster developments. If you,
that's what, I don't, can you guys see that? I'm circling the cluster development on the side there.
well, no.
Or a little village?
Again, if it's a special use permit, again, could it be manufactured housing? I mean, in theory, but again, there's a lot of range in the type of manufactured housing. It could be totally stick-built. The idea is, I've got a little sheet here I can pass out, you can look at.
Has anyone heard of pocket neighborhoods?
Yes.
Pocket neighborhoods? It's similar in concept to cluster housing, except cluster housing, the emphasis on that is more about preserving open green space. So the houses are clustered together, and then another section is open.
You would, for cluster housing, you really need sewer,
Yes.
because you can't build drain fields and have cluster housing.
No, I disagree. I mean, really,
Oh, we
I
have
mean,
all kinds of-
there's already, if you look at the back of the map here, I just went on the map, I was driving yesterday, taking some pictures of some public hearings coming up, and we already have this in the county.
Yes,
In numerous locations, in this one particular, this is 9 houses on about 7 acres. It's not on water and sewer. Each one has their own lot, but the idea through the cluster is that, maybe that land is in common ownership and everyone owns their improvement, sort of like a condominium.
Or a co-op, or,
What's that?
But is that what we
Yeah,
really want for the
yeah.
county?
we already have them.
No, we already have them, but do we want more of them?
The right way to do cluster development is basically a transferable development right on a single piece of property. You take 100 acres or 150 acres, and you take the 3 acre zoning and you compress it down to a certain number of houses, and you put them on well and septic, but you make sure you have adequate separation on them, and you push it down into a subdivision with a couple cul-de-sacs in it,
and that's what you build there, and the rest of it is preserved in perpetuality forever as a farmland or rural landscape. And basically you have, that's what that is on that piece of paper. There's a lot of jurisdictions around the state that have it, that have done it successfully, but it keeps the rural nature around it, but it allows people to have small enough lots where they can afford to put in the infrastructure and build the lots.
And what size lot are you talking about?
Acre and a half to 2 acres, basically that kind of lot. Or if you had water and sewer, you could do it on quarter or half acre lots. But the key with sewer is you can't just run the pipes forever. There's no economic benefit to it. You have to adjoin the sewer or you have to use well and septic. That's what you
Yes.
have to do. But you can preserve the farmland in the space of cluster development, but you have to be very specific in how you create the ordinance to allow it, so you don't get a bunch of crap.
Yeah, and I think also it's important to keep in mind what are our far majority of household sizes. We're looking at 2 and 1 bedroom residents, so I think that plays into to sort of the whole equation that some of these could be smaller homes that aren't necessarily. Yep.
P.K. Haynes did this with recreational subdivisions, and nobody preserved anything around them, and it stayed that way. Okay, Moonshine Mountain, Laurel Mountain, over in Greene County, Dogwood Valley, there's a ton of them, okay? There's only one that I can think of that's really undesirable, and that's down in Fletcher. And it's just because nobody has a homeowners association there. Oh, Syria Mountain Estates, there's one for you, but that wasn't a B.K. Haynes subdivision. But B.K. Haynes started these subdivisions with little cabins, 20 by 24-foot cabins, and people moved into those and added on to them. Lost Valley, that's another one. But nobody has developed around the outside. All of them had their own wall.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, but the one thing that didn't, when these were developed, 'cause like I said, there was no special, they just did it. There was no, hey, you want to do this?
Design.
What type of housing is it? What are your covenants? What are the ownership, yeah, some do now, but I mean, right. So,
United States had very similar covenants.
Right.
But they didn't enforce it.
Well, yeah, was there anybody to enforce it? That's,
Well, it depends on your property owners association. That's what it depends on, because the county won't take the roads.
yeah. And the county, through its land use, could designate, these are areas that we might consider this. It doesn't have to be, hey, they're just going to pop up everywhere. But here are some areas where they're already kind of clusters or villages that we would consider this type of, you've got 15 acres, maybe you want to do a density of 6 or 7, smaller homes, you bring forward association, all those things, you give the county a set of covenants, ownership scheme, or whatever it may be, and that's approved by a special use permit. So that is the idea. Again, you might hate this idea, just an idea.
That's typical of land use planning.
Right,
That
right.
goes on all over the United States. Let me ask a question of you, sir. How much acreage do you need to be able to have your own drain field?
You need 10,000 square feet, and most of the time you don't need that much with a 100 by 100, but you have to have 50 feet of separation to the house and 50 feet of separation to
The
the well.
well.
So you can do it on an acre, but it really gets tight. But about an acre and a half, 2 acres, you can do it, no problem at all.
Plus the reserve.
And
If
Plus the
the-
reserve.
That
We don't
10,000
need
is the
reserve.
reserve.
that's the install and reserve unless you have bad soil.
And you're
Right.
thinking of how many bedrooms on that too now? Is that 2 or 3?
A 4-bedroom.
Up to
And here's the thing about it, these,
Wait, that's
Yeah,
right. So-
absolutely.
So you're on a 2-bedroom, you can go smaller on that.
Right.
You can use it, yes, but you can't divide without 100 by 100. You can't divide a lot without 100 by 100 area, whether or not you need a smaller amount. That's a state regulation. And the
But-
4 years imposed on top of that, where you have to have 200% reserve as an anti-growth tool, so you have to have 3 drain fields in order to have one, so it increases the lot size.
To that point, Ligon, do we have any idea of how many agriculture zoned lots of an acre or less than 3 acres are in the county. 'Cause, well,
I mean, really, just yesterday, just driving, and I was out in the, kind of the, I went out to, I guess I was on Meander Run and up to, I just use this as an example, this, as just one example. That is 7 acres with 9 houses, and each one has its own drain field.
Hold on, Christina, do you have something? She's been raising her
I'm
hand
sorry,
like
I'm sorry.
a dozen times. I mean, good Lord.
Thanks for that. Well, I have a question. So, part of the comprehensive plan, from what I'm understanding, is we would like to draw families. We wanna have good schools, we wanna have entrepreneurship. So we're actually, in the comprehensive plan, we're creating a platform that we're asking people to come into the county, right? Potentially? Maybe? No?
It is, absolutely. We're talking about housing. It's definitely bringing people in and
Right,
providing
but-
people here.
Right? Families
Good Lord.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I think if there were affordable housing options, yes, you might see more people come into the county. I mean, sure.
Okay, so then when we're looking at these cluster developments, we're looking at what we already have, but these people already have homes, which is why there's nothing for rent, right? So so if we're looking to draw families, would we include that in like looking at it?
All of your new homes are gonna be market driven. You know,
Right.
what you're gonna find is very hard to create cluster housing or affordable housing because of the cost of the amount of land you have to purchase and the 3 acre minimum that you generates your number of lots you can have.
Yep. It's like what Larry is talking about, where you were talking about BK Haynes, you take like Lost Valley, there's 103 lots in there, and maybe 15 lots have houses in them.
And they're like acre and a half.
They're acre and a half up to 5 acres,
If somebody wants more land, they buy 2 lots. You know, we have that.
but there's 103 lots in there.
But they're not terribly conducive to building either.
Most of them are,
Are they? They're not too steep or anything?
No.
like that?
and they're
He knows,
changing
'cause
hands
he's
left
the-
and right.
Head owner of them.
But
And
the,
that happens, they're changing hands in Laurel Mountain too.
but the economics are not right for somebody to build on right now.
Just the cost of building it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the county can say we want to do this, but we can't, pay for it.
And one of the things we focused on is the fact that you identified, and that if you look in the paper, to see what's for sale, you don't see anything under 250, and 250 buys very little of anything. Wow. Live that. And so the question, and anything above 250 is Skyline Cap, I think, has done some research on, is probably prohibitive for a lot of people of modest means, including people in this county. So the question is, where are people living? And how are they getting housing? I mean, we don't have people living on the streets here. So,
That's a good question.
and I think that question can be answered in part by the fact that a lot of people have relatives living on their land. Peter and I both do.
MFDUs if you,
Pardon?
Multifamily.
multi-family dwelling.
That's really big right now.
And that's the ADU, or the accessory
Mhm.
dwelling unit thing that the board discussed and the planning commission discussed at some length, 6 months ago. But the reality is, if you have a larger piece of land where you're not really talking about 3-acre parcels, you can have, these ADUs, whether it be in the house, in the primary dwelling, which is the most common thing, or on top of a garage or a barn, or something sitting off two hundred and fifty yards away. And I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that an awful lot of people are being accommodated in this county in just that way.
That's the way, that's part of the culture here.
That was the housing pattern of 100 years ago.
You can't take a boilerplate and apply it necessarily to this county. You can't even really compare this to Page or Shenandoah.
No,
In fact, you can't even compare Crittlersville to Wolftown.
absolutely not.
Or Meander Run. It's all different. And that's one reason why you need flexibility in this county. I want you to do one thing. When you talk about manufactured housing, I want you to distinguish between a double wide and a box that comes in and gets set on a concrete foundation, or two boxes. I have good things to say about them and bad things to say about them, but there's a whole lot of difference between a double wide that's put together with staples and furring strips, and I'm not even gonna mention who made them, because you know what I'm talking about. The manufactured homes are okay in this county. They're acceptable, and you don't need a special use permit. I think you do if you wanna bring a trailer or a double wide. And Laurel Mountain, for example, our covenants are the same as Lost Valley and all the other BK subdivisions. We don't allow trailers. Okay, we don't allow double wide. There've been a couple that snuck in, but generally, we don't allow.
Yeah. I think the point that I would reiterate and have this conversation with the building official yesterday is there's a lot of diversity in manufactured housing. Alan's point, we are a lenient county when it comes to that. We don't exclude on any land unless it's covenants, so that's a very good point. But there is a lot of diversity in range and quality in the manufactured home. So to go and move on, I think we're doing, it's fun. Just back to the cluster, just to see where we're at.
Well,
And I'll use this one last, then we can move on to something else, and we don't have to do this all tonight. If, just using this current land use pattern, just what I put here, if someone came in with 7 acres and wanted to do a cluster development, I don't know, near one of the, one of the sort of villages, and they want to put 7 1,000 square foot homes, wanted to market it toward seniors. Matter of fact, they want to make it 55 plus as a condition of the SUP. 55 plus, they're going to do 7 houses, they're going to kind of cluster them where maybe there's a little bit of social space and things like that. So, because they're older folks, and we want everybody to be able to, we found a perfect little place for it, 7 acres. Would that be a concept that might work here?
That's not cluster, that's just denser zoning.
Yeah, that's against our ordinances.
Well, but I'm saying, as a,
When you start talking, you're talking retirement community.
what's that?
You're talking retirement community.
Yeah, I'm just giving you a hypothetical. It's a special use permit. The person who wants to develop this on 7 acres with 7 900 square foot, 2-bedroom cluster housing. He wants to, it's going to be, they're going to be rentals, it's going to be under one ownership. And this would be the proposal, is to do this. Covenants, it will be 55 plus. They will look like they'll be a high-end, stick-built, matter of fact. They'll be on foundations. And we just happen to have in A1, rural cluster housing is a special use permit in the A1 zone. And someone brings,
I think you should leave the parameter of 55 plus off the table and just leave the rest of it the way it was. And let me tell you, my daughter, who is 48, just moved into a retirement community. I'm still living on the farm. $600,000 house. Beautiful community center. They have a farm community where they have gardens and everything. Her husband is older than 55. Beautiful house, but it's 1 floor, no, 2 stories, no basement, stick built, $600,000, 2 bedrooms.
hey, Ray, so what's the over on the east side, there's a, old, I'll call it nursing home, but I guess it is a assisted living facility. Then it has a sidewalk that goes up, and you have these houses.
Mountain View?
Yeah. I mean, think of something to this, yeah, I mean, Mountain View is a kind of a good example of a cluster community that, I guess they're working under the current zoning. I don't know how big those lots are, but, I'm thinking of things like this, so anyway.
If 80% of the county already owns their homes, and was it 62% of the county is elderly, are they looking to, I just like, the people that I know and the people that I've met, like, I just don't see them being like, oh, I'm gonna leave my home again for generations. And do we have, is that what we're looking for, is for older people to come to the county, because there is no work and schools are.
No, I'm just saying, this is, this is.
don't go there.
This is the county. I mean, this is who we are.
If those are made, it may not necessarily be the folks who live here or the folks that are cohabitating with parents or whatever the case is, who are gonna buy these houses. They're gonna be affordable and on the open market. You can't preclude other people from coming in here. So your folks that would get priced out at Culpeper or Green or other places are gonna scoop them up and just drive, like everybody who's here now already drives. So, would it, sure, some will be bought by folks who already reside here, but you get folks from other areas that are renting that would buy these, so.
You got a lot of empty nesters here, who had a big house, they live on big land, I'm one of them. And I've got 16 acres, 3 houses, and 1 person. So you've got a lot of those people who are looking for alternatives before they get too old to think about it. And those kinds of people might go for something like that. If it was affordable, they could sell their house and buy that.
Yep.
And then there would be housing for other people when they sell their house.
Larry, how many houses do you have that are Airbnbs?
2,
Why do you do Airbnbs, not long-term rentals?
because long-term rentals require at least 2 to 3 months of renovation after the tenant leaves. And I can have my houses back anytime I need them when family comes to town. Okay, they are in turnkey condition. I'm old, if I need to sell one of those houses, it's gone tomorrow. But if I have a tenant in there, even if I have somebody for 2 to 3 months, it's gonna take a couple of weeks to get that house back in shape before they leave.
The reason I ask is, and Ligon makes the joke that when you call his office, there should be like press 5 for Airbnb application. And every week we see the same thing. How does that play into the housing inventory game? If we're seeing so many Airbnb, I mean, we've seen 3 in a cluster, on a lot up in the middle of the mountains. It'll be on, we'll do a workshop on it next week, and it'll be on the first meeting in March.
Yeah, I think thank you, Clay, that's a good point, because we cluster, yeah, we allow people to cluster. I mean, and as long as you can assign the acreage to each unit, it's okay for tourists to come in and stay for the weekend. So I guess, right, but,
Now you say, oh, we got tourists, damn.
well, what I'm saying is, would this concept be something that for full-time residents, would it be acceptable?
Well, I'll
So
give you
I
my answer is yes. Yeah, my answer is yes to your question, if we have it in the right spot, huh? Right, in the right spot, which I will not approve, me personally, I can't speak for the whole board, I'm not gonna approve a comp plan that doesn't have this land use map with stuff like that and like where we might wanna see this, right? So my answer is yes, give them in the right spot. I don't know, what's your answer?
The problem you have with 55 plus is they don't want an acre or 2 acres. They want everything right together, all the maintenance. is
They don't
taken
want
care of.
anything to have to do.
Water and sewer to support that. So that has to be in a dense zoning area. That's not really gonna end up being a cluster.
That would have to be residential.
But I do think a cluster could be rural. I think, or it could be near a rural village.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it could be.
Could be.
Like we do with tourist,
But they don't drive.
homes. Yes, sir.
The one bottom line I took from my conversation with people today is that there are a lot of anomalies, like the
Alan.
income versus house price anomaly. You have the anomaly that we encountered, maybe 12 months ago, with regard to Carlisle Weaver's land on Route 29, just north of the Food Lion. And the expectation, I think, that Carlisle has had for years is that that would be an excellent place for senior living, affordable senior living. And yet, we heard from, I think, Bill Gentry, or someone, I think it was Bill Gentry, that there is no market, that he tried to market it for that purpose, and there was no market for it. Developers just didn't think that there was a need for senior housing. And that's an anomaly, because, I think a lot of us think there probably is a need for it. So what I took from it is that my conversation with Peter, is that the first step should be a real thorough assessment of the needs and the availabilities, housing needs and availability in this county. And that was sort of what was recommended in the 2018 plan, when the recommendation was made in Goal 8 that we identify and make recommendations as to how to resolve housing needs. I think that's the place to start. And I think that's.
Well, I think we do have the housing study from 2020. We do have a lot of data that we've collected.
I looked at what you sent me today,
The regional, right, study.
And what I saw was figures that were still pretty theoretical as to, I forget what the term was at the bottom line, Jennifer, you didn't have enough money in that individual making so-and-so $75,000 couldn't afford a house that cost such and such. What was the term for that?
Income to,
But I don't think that goes deeply enough. I think that's an interesting point.
but my only is, look, I look at these comp plans, we could slap a few goals on here and say, encourage affordable housing, the A, B, and C, and go on to the next topic. Okay, that would be, we would have satisfied what's required. I guess, like, it's kind of back to and I think we're gonna do, our goals, we're gonna say that, but when it comes to this particular cluster, let's sit on it, think about it a little bit, we don't have to decide tonight, we got about 15 minutes left, so.
And I have two things I'd like to say right now
Yeah.
while before we leave this. One thing is, when you say in the bullet, 1, 2, 3, 4, STRs are prohibited, you will find out where many of the short-term rentals are, because they're gonna be in here. If they want another one, so that was one thing. I
So
just thought about.
I'll just go over some of the other things.
But the other thing, let me say one
Yeah, I'm
other
sorry,
thing.
sorry,
Linda.
Heather.
I'm not quite through. We've heard this thing about, and I don't know what you built, well, I know what you built, Anthony. I know of several houses that are manufactured homes that came in. And I can guarantee you, yes, I do. I know where they are. And I can tell you, when they're finished, you'll never know the difference. Absolutely. I don't know what she paid for this last one, I know, that I go to regularly, and I'm gonna tell you, it's amazing. I've got one near me. If you didn't see it come in, you would never know it.
There's modulars that are good, there's
Modulars and that kind of thing, yeah, that's right.
on-frame modulars that are still built under a heavier code, and then there's the Hudson.
Oh, I agree.
House trailer. The house trailers are basically a 12 to 15-year house, on-frame modulars.
And I have one of those near me, yep.
Real modular houses that are well-built or lifetime.
So there are all kinds, as somebody said earlier, all kinds. But if somebody wants to build one, I'm glad we don't make them go through hoops to do it, if it costs less.
And Mr. Cloudwell will say this too, I'm sure. The cost of land in Madison and the cost of what it costs to build a house this day and time. There's no affordable. It's
No, there's no
nothing
affordable.
affordable to it. Those people that are coming from Northern Virginia that's got $1 million, they're gonna buy that land and buy that house.
They think it's
What do you
great.
think about that 30% rule that you
Right.
mentioned, and boy, it does take construction.
Nope.
Not at all.
Okay. How about we go through, try to, I think we all agree we increase affordable housing options. What that exactly means and entails, we've still got some work to do.
And again, we can say encourage, but we can't say.
Right.
But we are going to increase them.
Right, we're gonna encourage it, right. I don't want to start really too many other conversations, but I will go to the this page here. And we, sort of like the clusters, we've talked about the accessory dwelling units, and I think what Peter Work said, we already in this county have a pretty progressive stance on second dwellings on properties. A lot of communities, a second dwelling means you have to subdivide the parcel. Here, if you can assign 3 acres and you've got 9 acres, you can put 3 units on your property already. So in a lot of ways, the ADU, which is the words being used all the time, is we're fairly lenient on that. I think it's a good thing. As just to reiterate what Peter said earlier, the only thing that we looked at as a commission and a board was the folks that live on those 3 to 5.9 acre parcels that don't have enough acreage to put a second dwelling on their parcel. Right. That sort of, call it a donut hole. And what we propose, I think Cardi and I were the biggest advocates, is if you built something that's 900 square feet, that's inferior to the principal building, I think this would go a long ways to a niche. It can't be a short-term rental. You can't turn around, have 3.5 acres, I'm going to put I've got a 1,800 square foot home, I'm going to put a nice little 800 square foot ADU behind there, I'm going to rent it out for the weekend for tourists to come in. No. It would have to be a long-term rental. Could it be a family person? Sure. Could it be a teacher? Could it be, you're on the property. So, that's a concept that the board seemed kind of lukewarm toward. How does this group feel about it? And again, we're not trying to write a code. Well, the idea was kind of going back to this idea of supply of rental property. Right.
Two with the special use permit. No.
Yeah, you're trying to govern the market, and government doesn't belong there.
I mean, that's what zoning is. I mean, that's what zoning is. I mean, well, but as of the current code, 3 to 5.9 acres, you can't put that second one. So that, right. But what is the general consensus? Not worried about what, of that sort of allowing for those inferior, I always use the word inferior, it's not going to be the same size, it's going to be smaller. Maybe you say it can't be more than 2 bedrooms, it can't be more than 900 square feet, whatever it may be. A1 and C1. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it gives either, but you want to restrict the short-term rentals. I think that there's a lot of pushback because it seems like an overreach. And folks, that's a big part of our economy, is the income gained by short-term rentals.
I mean, it could be taken off, but the idea was you can't do it now, so you have no option. If you could do it as a long-term rental, it would help for those situations, and the people would come in to apply for them, the ones that likely want to do it for a family member, for a little rental income, or, so that was the idea, is to fill this need by saying, hey, we're going to expand it under these conditions. I mean, is that?
Put that condition on it, why not just expand it for that use if it's smaller, inferior to?
Because I think majority of them will probably become Airbnbs.
When this was introduced, it was with specific needs in mind. And those needs did not include a nice rental property that you could do for short-term rental for income. It was a whole different concept that this was introduced as.
You know what, I wouldn't have a long-term rental like that on
requiring that the second dwelling be considered primary in order to meet the definition of an ADU. But you're not gonna allow it to be short, it's gonna be long term. You're simply just increasing the density of a lower, you know, a lower quality of housing. And I gotta wrap my brain around that one for a minute.
It could be a higher quality construction. Your house could be vinyl, and you could build an ADU with a hardy plank, and, I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be.
You build this for grandma. Grandma passes,
That's right.
and then you don't want a tenant in your backyard. The way you described your reason for doing short-term rentals was magnificent. That was an
That's why we were
intelligent
hesitant.
description of why you would wanna do it that way. And you have these folks, you control it, if your family comes, it doesn't make sense to exclude that part, but that's my opinion.
I wonder what Cardi said about cluster development with the potential added density through the ADU. Seems that's another one that you really need to know where. It just seems like that's.
Yeah, I
the
think-
basics of all.
I think we looked at the number of parcels that were 3 to 5 acres in the county, A1, for instance. I mean, I forget, I mean, there are a lot. Now, do I expect all 1,200?
Under, from 5.9 down.
Yeah.
Or under 6.
Under 6, A1. I think it's a niche sort of thing. I think you just will see a few folks come in that want to maybe, hey, I've got a child or I think it's going to be, most will be family members.
It's not gonna be a rush
Right.
everybody to do that.
But what's the group's general feeling on that concept?
Just leave it on the table to
Okay.
be refined.
I do want to throw one thing out, Bill, and I've talked a lot. If you have 55 plus, or you have age-restricted apartments, and you allow the number of units to come into the county that you really need, you will destroy your EMS system, because they will not be able to answer the calls that are generated by those units. Culpepper's had let a couple of them in because they didn't want the school population to grow, and their volunteer and their career rescue systems are getting eaten alive by the calls. Just
Yeah, that's very good point. So I'll just say in closing, let's just work through this. This has been a good conversation. I think I'll just say, I think we're all in agreement. We encourage any kind of density, true density around town in Madison or our RSA service district. I think upgrading, modernizing RSA, the wastewater plant is something that needs to be done. It would answer a lot of the issues if there was the ability. Cluster housing, let's think about that a little more. And on the ADUs, I think I hear that we're in kind of agreement that the concept on the smaller lots, that 3 to 5, is something that the committee in general favors. Whether or not, we should say can't be a short-term rental or not, maybe that's something we can still kind of talk about. Yeah. Sure.
So Ligon, in my subdivision, I have 3.45 acres. And, I'm allowed a single-family residence, but I could put an ADU on it, right, and rent it out.
By special use permit, if you got the special use permit.
Even, great, my subdivision's gonna love that.
Well, then again, do you have covenants in your subdivision? Subdivision might not allow it. I mean, it very well may be, something that not allowed by a private. So, while we're done, and we'll type up a little review and all that good stuff, and we'll plan on going back over housing next time we meet, and maybe introducing the land use map, which is a big part of this. So, if we're gonna meet again on a Thursday, how about, to give a little more time, would the 16th of March at 5:30? March, 5:30? Mike's here.
I said, like, why don't we just make it like a,
Y'all want to make it in a month, March 9th?
I'm out of town that day, I think,
What's that day?
birthday celebration.
I'd like to have a little, just one more extra week, because that's just, the beginning's gonna be very busy, and. Okay, March 9th, that's right, March 9th's fine then. Would March 9th be okay? Well, 5:30, March 9th, that's exactly a month.
It can't be 5:30. We've got budget hearings scheduled, or budget stuff scheduled for the next 2 months.
Okay, 6:15? 6:15. We'll get it all ready. Yeah, I mean, I think if we were just doing, hey, we'll just slap on a few basic goals, that were generic, and we all shake our head, but trying to actually like get a different sort of take on things and how you might develop property. That's a lot of,
I knew this is a contentious.
That's what I got from you. What am I missing? Am I missing something?
that's all you got for me? What email, because that's, which is,
Exactly. It'll get better.
what's your email? Mike Snyder.
01.
Okay.
Because you got it on that.
I probably sent it to the Old Bay Breeze. I might have sent it to Old Bay Breeze.
Well, no, you didn't, because I looked at it.
Okay, Mike Snyder 01.
When I got on,
Okay.
low-income housing, budget we left that night, once it was proposed, and the numbers didn't work out.
When did it come through?
I sent to you last Friday, I sent something. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
What's that?
I knew this would be a tough subject.
Yeah, I knew. So you have the new vision, the new statement?
Sorry.
You have everything all edited?
Yes.
Perfect.
It's saved and, yeah, I'll send that.
All right, here's my question.
Yes.
Here's my question on Airbnb. Good try keeping everybody going. You're really putting out effort. We're in, I don't know, Richmond or the Fairfax or one of these.
Right.
Affordable housing where there is density is appropriate. Here, we have such a high number of the Airbnbs, that has to factor into the way that the component goes into the comp plan and the regulations on what it, does that mean, I'm saying it very poorly, Logan.
Yeah, I mean,
There would be enough housing if there wasn't a huge Airbnb market here.
I don't know if it'd be enough, but it'd be a
Substantially
it'd be a
more.
totally different
Absolutely.
animal.
So,
Right.
but that's, you understand why? I
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
that
yeah.
up?
But like I said, we're willing to,
You're clustering.
we're willing to cluster for out-of-town people.
To some extent.
Yeah,
But we're gonna hear the same bullshit on that.
Right, right.
Cluster them on the side of the mountain.
Right.
Judy was doing all this stuff. Oh, somebody came into the. Right. And somebody helped me on the. And had gone there. And she said, oh, well, this room was so-and-so, this room was. And Judy was just fascinated with that.
Yeah, because she probably wouldn't have been.
Not at the time, no.
We graduated, that we went college.
Right.
But we had, I guess, I was in my junior year, I guess.
So every apartment
We had a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he came from. Someone else asked him, so.
let's say six apartments, they're all 3 bedrooms, then they're all about.
Last I heard, he was a man. You can't do it.
Uh-huh. But it works.
And then it all got.
Yeah, I'll just.
So what?
But they put an effort in it.
They tried. It was one of those concepts. It was alive for a while. Yeah, right, it did. Give them credit for it. Even though they wouldn't let me in. I couldn't even fly. And you know, these are some of my grandchildren's daughters, one of them.
Joe Ray, that stuff out there, that's all. So, I mean, those areas, oh, when Clay and Kevin and I were on the planning commission, we did that track 494 plan, 6 years ago. We envisioned that. That was coming up right now, I've been in here since Stewart. Yeah, we had budget meetings first, so I saw it pop up right as I was heading out. Okay. Yeah, you sent it to Simon too. Yeah. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's
What's that?
I was the chair.